Hey guys, welcome to the Venture Youth live stream. We are super excited to be with you tonight. And real quick, I want to ask you to say hi in the chat over here. Because if you don't do that, then there's no specific way we can connect with you. And so we really want to do that. So if you could just say like your name or something about yourself, that would be awesome. And we want to connect with you. And speaking of the chat, while you're watching this, I just want to encourage you to engage with us. Let us know what you're thinking as you're going through this, and so we can have a conversation, because that's what this is all about. And there's also a live prayer button down at the bottom that you can hit, and we have leaders standing by wanting to pray for you. So this week we are going to continue in our series called Dwell, and in case you missed it, in this series it's called that because we've been taking an in-depth look at Philippians 4, verse 8. And it says this, as I get my Bible. Hold on, got my fancy little thing here. All right. It says this, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there's any moral excellence, and if there's anything praiseworthy, dwell on these things." So real quick, as a recap, we've covered in previous weeks that this is a list of things that we should dwell on because our directed attention, it directs us. Again, I just want to remind you that our directed attention, it directs us. And the reason this really matters to us and to God is because we will go in the direction of the things that we dwell on, and the things we direct our attention on over a period of time. And so this week we're going to be looking at what it means to dwell on what is honorable. And so before we get too far, I want to explain what something honorable is. And to do that, I think the best way of doing it is to define it and then give some examples. Then to help show what is dishonorable, or the opposite of something honorable, is I'll also give some examples of that. Now, I don't want this to be school for you guys. I can tell from the conversations we've had that I've had with a couple of you guys that you're just kind of sick and tired of school online and all that stuff. But believe me, this is something that it's changed my life, and I believe it can totally change yours, which is why it's super valuable to understand and learn, and it's why I want to be super crystal clear. So what is honorable? Well, if you Google it, like I did, you'll see it says something or someone worthy of honor. Ain't that helpful? I mean, I thought you weren't allowed to use the word in the definition, but it's 2020, so we do what we want, I guess. But for real, obviously something that is honorable is something that is deserving of honor. One way to think about this is like the military. They receive honors for doing something that made them deserve a certain honor. And we can see that in our relationship with God, in that He is by far the most worthy of honor. So if you think about Jesus, if you think about it, He lived the most honorable life. And I would say that when we look at things and we point to and say that is honorable, it is in some way a reflection of God. And so when we look at living an honorable life, we can look at God's character, and we see if it lines up. And if it does, if that specific thing does line up with His character, then that thing is honorable. Does that make sense? So maybe this will make it more clear. Something honorable is something that reflects God's character, because honor comes from God. He's the most honorable, and so if it reflects Him, it is something that is honorable. So things like compassion, service, integrity, purity, honesty. So I hope you're tracking with that. You're kind of getting it. One example of that, another thing that's honorable is modesty. I don't know if you saw it, but I made a video actually a while back, and I posted it on Facebook, and I talked about how modesty is more than what we wear. It's a lifestyle actually, and because I can wear all the clothes that I want and totally be modest and whatever. But if I'm trying to show off with all the stuff that I have or whatever it is, then I'm not living a modest life. See, modesty is when you try and show is when you could try and show things off, but you don't because you don't need the affirmation and approval of others to know your own worth. And I bring that up because from that video, what was surprising to me was that some people I didn't expect to, I received really good feedback from them, and they were really about it, which was awesome. I love that. And I think that goes to show that people understand what an honorable life looks like. See, they get what is honorable, though they might not know where it sources from. They believe in upholding great values, but they might not have connected yet with the God of the universe, who is the one who gets to define great values. And if that's you, if you're someone who really wants to live an honorable life, but you're not in a relationship with Jesus, I'll tell you, you can try and try and try, but we all fall short of perfection. And frankly, all of us will. I know I certainly have. See, we've all gone away from God and done things that have brought shame, which is also the opposite of honor. And it's brought shame on us, the things that we've done. But there is hope in Jesus for you. See, only He lived a perfect life, and He wants you to be brought out of that shame that you're experiencing because of the things that you've done. And He provides forgiveness and freedom from shame. As Romans 10:9 and 10 says, it says, if you confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. One believes with the heart, resulting in righteousness, or in other words, you're declared right, which is what that means, or you're good before God. And one confesses with, and it goes on to say, and one confesses with the mouth, resulting in salvation, which means essentially you accept the gift of eternal life that Jesus offers. See, He took our shame on the cross. We've all done shameful things. We've all messed up. But Hebrews 12:2 encourage us. It says, be keeping your eyes on Jesus, the pioneer. In other words, that means He's the one who paved the way, kind of like pioneers, like across the states, that kind of a thing. Anyways, it says, the pioneer and perfecter of our faith. For the joy that lay before Him, He endured the cross, despising its shame. See, He took on our shame on the cross. But then it says He sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. So He took our brokenness, our shame, and He overcame that the day that shame could no longer hold Him, and He resurrected from the dead. Then God honored Him to have Him sit at the right hand of the throne of God. So we see that Jesus both deals with our shame, but He also provides and shows what an honorable life looks like. See, we know that to live honorably is to live in a life in a way that is consistently in line with God's values. It's to reflect Jesus. So why does it matter if we dwell on what is honorable? Why would you and I really be concerned with dwelling on what's honorable? To help understand the way that this works out in our lives, I want to use an image of a garden. And when I say to think of a garden, what I want you to think of is it's another way of looking at you. And what's growing in your garden is a result of what you've either allowed to grow in the garden or you've worked to grow in your life. Now, this garden has a lot of potential in it, just like you. And you have the option of what you plant. In this case, it's what you're dwelling on. We're going to say that what you dwell on is what you're planting in the garden. And if you put in, let's say, for example, thankfulness, something you're dwelling on, if you're dwelling on thankfulness, and you put that into the ground as a seed, Then, after time, as it changes and it grows and it develops, it grows up into a plant. But you can also plant selfishness into the ground. That would be something that is dishonorable, the opposite. And we would say that after time, it changes and it grows and it develops and it gets roots and it develops into a weed. And that weed, when it develops, it comes out in ways that brings kind of shame on us, and people experience that. So things you dwell on and you plant in your garden can be honorable, and they can come out as plants, or they can be dishonorable, and they can come out as weeds. And the issue with weeds is that they spread all over the place. They come and they want all of the territory. I hate weeds. I don't know if you've ever pulled weeds before, but it seems like you just never get rid of them. They just keep going. And the thing is shame can be that way as well. See, when we allow ourselves to give directed attention on things that are shameful, things we would rather not admit, it has a way of wanting to drown out anything honorable or anything that reflects God in our lives. And this happens in kind of a behind-the-scenes kind of way, not a direct thing that's happening. But eventually, it directs us to places where we follow through with what we've dwelled on, what we've put into the ground. So let me give you an example, and hopefully this brings some clarity to it. So you can choose to dwell on your mistakes, let's say. You can focus a lot and put a lot of your attention on how bad you are, how you really mess things up, and no one knows that, or at least you think no one knows, and you can just beat yourself up over and over again about how terrible you are, and that's dwelling on it. And then what happens is you begin to take that on as an identity. So you begin to believe that you not only make mistakes, but that's all you can do. And it becomes more of who you are, and you believe that you can't do anything right. And a couple of things that you messed up begin to become bigger and bigger as you dwell on it more and more, and you can't escape the weight of just the shame that you're experiencing. But there's hope in this, is that, again, Jesus took our shame on the cross. And just like how when we come to know him and we move from death to life and we change our identity, so he wants us to change what we dwell on. Instead of dwelling on things that bring us shame, he wants us to dwell on what's honorable, things that reflect God. See, we actively put our attention on how good he is and how we can reflect him. And that's my encouragement to you guys tonight. I want you to dwell your attention and direct your attention on things that are honorable. Because when we do that, then we get to grow and become more like Christ. Because it will lead you away from the things that tear you down and bring you shame, and will bring you to a place to where you get to see more of Jesus in your life. 2 Timothy 2:21 says this. It says, "So if anyone purifies himself from anything dishonorable, he will be a special instrument set apart, useful to the master, prepared for every good work." And this is essentially just the process of us focusing on and purifying ourselves by dwelling on what is honorable. So my question to you is, it's this. Are what you're dwelling on, is what you're putting into the soil, is it honorable? Does it honor God? Does it reflect him? And do you believe that what you're currently dwelling on, is it going to lead you down a path that you want to live? So I want us to talk about that. And leaders, you can post in the chat over here what's the URLs or whatever to join the chats. And so I hope that's encouraging to you. I hope that you are dwelling on what is honorable. And let us know. I want to hear from you guys what you guys think, and how this has made an impact in your life. And so we're praying for you guys, and we will see you next week.